So now we're beginning with season 2 of The Walking Dead. And it begins, I mean, like chronologically speaking, with a deleted scene.
So, like, in this deleted scene, after the CDC explodes, they are going to, well, they're trying to figure out where to go next. And it's kind of strange because, like, maybe there's a second, like, a first part to this
Yeah.
deleted scene that we didn't see because all of a sudden, like, Shane is, like, fighting walkers and he's, like, trying to get into the RV. But at the end of season 1, he wasn't in the RV. He was in a Jeep. And
yeah.
so it's like, wait, what happened in between there? And so he gets into the RV and like everyone else is there, Carl's there and everything, and they decide to go, like, I think Glenn suggests that they go to the people in the nursing home.
Yeah.
And they're like, the people that kidnapped you? And he's like, yeah, they're pretty cool people, actually. And so they go to the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, totally like, overrun by walkers now.
Yeah. Yeah, so they go to the nursing home, and everybody's dead. And eventually Daryl, like, no one else seems to notice it,
Yeah.
but eventually Daryl notes that it wasn't walkers that killed everyone, that they were shot in the head, even the old people. And so then, yeah, so he's being more intelligent than a lot of them, and he's saying, oh, we should be more concerned about the people who did this, like,
Right, then
yeah.
the walkers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he actually talks quite a lot in this deleted scene, which it's like, what, like, eight
Yeah, it's like
minutes
maybe
long?
10 minutes,
Okay.
yeah.
He talks quite a bit, and he seems to be the most, like, knowledgeable and, like, well, come on, guys, it's like, duh, it's so obvious. And they're all like, what? Like, they have no idea.
Yeah, they're very dumb. Yeah, so and then they camp out there for the night. So, okay, they didn't need to have the whole scene, but they should have at least said, oh yeah, everyone at the nursing home is dead. They should have at least noted, in the finished episode what happened, because it's really stupid. It doesn't make any sense that, considering that they spent quite a bit of time in season 1 there, like, interacting with these people, that after the CDC in season 2, then they just...
Like,
they're
we
like,
never...
Yeah, like, in the finished show, it's like, I guess they're still alive, I guess
Right,
they're
we
still
have no
there, but
idea.
for some reason, like, nobody ever, went back there just to,
Yeah.
like, say, hey, can you guys, like, can we stay with you,
Right,
or something
right.
like
And if
that?
it's worth it to have, like, an entire episode about them, it's
Yeah.
probably worth it to just, like, tie up that loose end before going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not, like, a whole lot that happens in that episode plot-wise, other than knowing what happened to that group.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I think... So there's one part where there's a walker, like, just on the other side of the glass, and they're all trying to stay quiet, and Carl, like, looks at Sophia, and he's like, shh to her, and I think, like, that's kind of important because it starts showing that Carl is becoming more, like, grown up, more of a man, not so much of a little kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like, kind of in season 2, it's like a quick transition. Like, we don't see that building up, but this kind of showed it building up where he's, like, trying to be more...
I agree.
Yeah, more adult.
Yeah. It also might have been to screw with people who read the comics and were like, oh, Carl and Sophia will be boyfriend and girlfriend. And then, of course, it's like, psych, she goes missing. I don't know. That might not have been it.
Right.
But, yeah. And then, also, this is the beginning of when T-Dog just completely fades into the background and becomes, like, he's just sort of there, but
Like,
he doesn't really do anything.
He has some very minor stories going forward, but they're like...
I mean, yeah,
they could have done without it,
he's-
honestly.
He's
like,
kind of pointless, yeah. He had a fair amount of stuff to do in season 1, but in season 2, he's just there. He's just kind of, like, in the background, not really doing much of anything, He's just kind of just there. Yeah.
So, after the nursing home is run over, not run over, Shane is like, I guess we're going to Fort Benning now. Or maybe maybe it was Fort. Either way.
Oh, no, it's Fort. Yeah. Yeah, just
So-
like he suggested before they went to the CDC.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so they decided they're going to go to Fort Benning, and this is where the actual episode picks up.
Yes.
And it's a monologue to Morgan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so much like in the past, Rick's monologues tend to be rambling and like self-contradicting because, okay, so he's saying, oh, we went to the CDC and I don't know, but what is it? We gotta have hope. We gotta keep trying.
And our group is smaller.
Yeah,
we lost a few people.
We lost some people. Yeah.
Like they lost the faith.
Yeah.
But like you gotta keep the faith. You gotta keep hope. I met a scientist at the CDC. He told me something.
It doesn't matter. Like,
Right,
oh, nice.
right.
Yeah, to keep the audience guessing about that. Yeah.
Which, like, obviously, if you watch The Walking Dead, you know what it is. That, like, everyone has the virus. And, like, if you die, like, you become a walker, even if you don't get bit. And, like, that's kind of important.
It is. I mean,
like,
really, it would have been awkward if some people died.
Right,
because he didn't tell anybody. Like, I know it's like, oh, everybody will lose
freak out,
hope for
right,
some reason.
right.
I mean, okay, because, like, okay, I think the whole, like, oh, everyone will lose hope if I tell them that, like, essentially there's no end to the infection, okay, because that's his logic, is like, oh, everybody will lose hope, and it's like, okay, but never once did they have a conversation about, if we can just outlast the walkers, then it'll be okay. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, that's the implication.
Right.
Is that, like, oh, you know, like, oh, if we can just survive, like, humanity will be okay because, like, as long as people can survive without being infected by being bitten, like, then eventually it'll go away. Like, that's what he means, but, like, I don't think they had they never had a conversation, like, kind of like pondering, like, well, how long will they stay intact? Like, how long do we have to survive before the walkers will start dying off? Like, that kind of a thing, you know? Like, I think maybe that would have been a good idea, because then maybe it would have kind of, like, set that up as an idea, but it's like, they never thought about that. Like, they never contemplated how long, like, if, you know, like, okay, so there's some hope of, like, outlasting it.
Right.
Whereas, like, oh, if it's just persistent and everybody who dies resurrects, then, like, oh, like, I mean, because that's his thinking, is that, like, oh, everybody will feel like it's hopeless then, because it's just going to be this, like, perpetual thing, like, we'll never be free of it, you know?
Right.
Like, that's what he's, you know. Anyway, I just find that a bit like, yeah, sure, that doesn't, but yeah, like, what if several of the group had died? Like,
Like,
what if Dale died
sick?
of old
Like,
age? and then bit Andrea or something, like, you know, and it's
Or,
like, oops,
or,
you
like,
could have prevented that, Rick.
Like,
you know?
like later when T-Dog, like, cuts his arm really bad, like,
right.
and they're, like, worried about blood poisoning and stuff like that,
And
but
it's
Rick's like, oh, but I better not tell them.
Yeah, and it's like, gosh, that, you know, that could have potentially saved somebody's life.
Right.
Like, that could have gone much worse. Like, that might not have worked out the way it did, yeah.
So then in his monologue to Morgan, he's like, we're leaving Atlanta. Atlanta's done, even though he's already said Atlanta's done.
He did already say
before,
that, yeah.
We're going to Fort Benning, and, like, it's going to be a hard journey, harder than I can expect, but it can't be harder than what we've already done. It's like, okay, but then you can expect it. Like, if you think that it's only going, like, it can't get harder than what you've done, then you can expect, like, you do have some expectations then. So that kind of contradicts itself right there.
It's true.
And also, it really frustrates me because, like, he left the note on the red car about, like, how to get to the CDC, but then he's like, oh, we're going to Fort Benning, it's 125 miles. So, like, he's just saying, this is what we're doing. You can follow us. And maybe he was naive before at the red car and wasn't like, oh, someone could follow us and someone could hurt us.
If you murdered the nursing home
Right,
inhabitants
exactly.
and you're listening to this,
You
we're
can
going to
follow us.
Fort Benning. We'll be taking this highway. We'll be leaving at this time.
Right,
Like, you know.
right.
Like,
At this
yeah.
point, I guess, like, if you didn't see the deleted scene, then, like, it
Sure,
it seems
sure.
okay.
But they shot all of that,
Right,
and then only
right.
afterwards decided what to keep.
Right.
Like, I mean, I guess it's possible that they didn't have his monologue originally, but I think they did. I mean, I think they did.
Like,
I think
you're
they
just
filmed all of
telling
that.
people,
Yeah.
this is where we're going, you can follow us, like, we're gonna make it really freaking easy for you. And then he's like, I'm trying not to lose faith, I have to be strong for the others.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we have to stick together, we have to fight for each other. We have to be willing to die for each other if it comes to that. But he also knows that, like, if you die for each other, then you're going to turn to a walker. But he's not going to tell anyone else that.
Yeah. It's like, it's the only chance we've got. And I mean, yeah, I guess, but, like, really it's just like, well, I mean, you know, like, it's a military base, so maybe.
Right.
But it's like, not really. I mean, I guess it's the only thing you have to go on, but I don't know, that's a little silly. And so then he's like, okay, then he's saying to Morgan, he's like, you guys gotta be careful. Stay off the road. Keep moving, but not on the road.
Right.
And it's like I mean, we'll be on the road.
Right,
but,
right.
You know.
It's like 125 miles, we're going to be on the road. Keep off the road, but keep moving. Like,
yeah, and
well,
it's like,
where do you want me to move
yeah,
then?
and it's because, you know, at the end he's like, get to Fort, you know, if maybe we'll see you at Fort Benning or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but so how do you plan for them to get there if not by road?
Right.
Exactly. Like, through the woods, like 125 miles through maybe more like 150, depending on how far that town was from Atlanta. But like, yeah, so it's like, his monologue is full of contradictions and just kind of like he's just sort of rambling. And I mean, I know he's mostly, or like half of this is him like talking to himself.
Yeah.
Like, as much as like hypothetically Morgan, if he's listening, but still, like, what he's saying really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Keep your eyes open. Be safe. Like, okay. I know I was gonna
I mean,
close
really,
my
the
eyes.
safest thing might just be to stay in place,
Yeah.
like, in their town.
Build a shelter of something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, honestly, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so then they're headed to Fort Benning, and that's just, the inconsistencies just kind of drive me insane. But I love the show.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
I don't
no,
want there
we
to be
do.
any question about that.
Yeah.
And there's, like, no trouble getting out of the city because, you know, they're coming down the highway the wrong way.
Yeah.
But then they get caught up in traffic where there were, like, a bunch of cars that, like, were stopped.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
Right,
yeah.
right. And then the people either fled or they died and became walkers, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to, like, move these cars to clear the highway. And there's a horde of walkers, a herd of walkers that are on the way. So they decide to get under their cars, which, like, in later seasons totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But we just saw, like, maybe a week ago
Yeah.
when Rick
Was under the tank.
tank, they were crawling after him. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to get under a car
It doesn't.
because they can just crawl after you still at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense. And they all just act like that's like, oh, yeah, we'll be safe if we do this. Yeah.
Yeah, like, no problem.
I
Just
do
crawl.
want to mention before they see the walkers, like when they first come to the cars. Okay, so I think it's Lori. Isn't she like, because they're like, oh, we need parts, we need supplies, and then she's like, but this is a grave site. Like,
you're right.
You want to loot it? And it's like, well, okay, if you're not gonna loot, like, if you're not gonna scavenge things from anywhere where there are dead people in this world.
Right.
I mean, you're just not gonna you're basically not gonna scavenge
you're
anything.
Screwed.
Like, geez, I don't think you have that luxury.
Right. If you go to a
she's
grocery
just like so
store,
prissy.
though,
Yeah.
like there were
exactly.
that
like
belonged
there's
to
gonna
someone
be
who's dead
there's
now.
gonna be some dead people pretty much everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
I just
totally
right. found that silly. It's not that
Yeah.
important, but it's just like come on, I think you have higher priorities at this point. Like, I don't think you can be that picky. I don't think you can be that we gotta, can't disrespect the dead. Oh.
And maybe not taking something off their
right.
dead body.
I'm not saying reach around. No. I'm not saying reach into their pants and just start
taking the jewelry
start,
off of them.
There might be something in her bra. Start just looking and every corpse start going through its pockets. But the cars. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And and I mean they've been looting cars so far already. I don't think they...
Yeah, taking that red car that belonged to someone who was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much everything belongs to somebody who's dead.
Yeah.
There are corpses everywhere. There are walkers everywhere who are corpses.
This is your new world. You gotta become okay with it.
Yeah, I just that's just kind of silly because she's being so faint-hearted, I guess, still acting like it's the old world, and it's geez, by this point I don't think you can be that naive. Yeah.
So then Sophia and Rick run off into the woods because there's 2 walkers.
Yeah.
2, count them, 1, 2. That's it. That are. Are they even chasing them, really? Or are they just, following? I mean,
they do... Well, I mean, chasing, moving quickly, you mean? Or,
I guess, yeah.
I mean, they're, Sophia's able to outrun them pretty easily.
Yeah.
I mean, they're moving at, a moderate pace. They're, so Sophia takes off because the walkers spot her. And so then, she runs away. And then Rick goes after her.
Right.
I do think he was a bit slow. I mean, because, if he had been faster, I feel like he could have just grabbed Sophia. I don't know. Okay, so he takes off after them, right? Okay, so I just have to... I mean, I know they did it for the story, but it doesn't make any sense because once Rick catches up with her, he's saying, I can't fight them without using my gun while also protecting you, which, I mean, doesn't make any sense, because she could just go 10, 15 feet over there. Well, you know what I mean? It's not like they're gonna be okay, you distract Rick while I go for the little girl. It's not like they're gonna be it's not like they're gonna be sneaking or come on, basically she just has to keep a safe distance while he dispatches them, and then bam, that's it.
So there was no reason for him to hide her and leave her.
Well, and I mean, hiding her under under the roots would have been fine, except because then he waits for them so he can lead them away, right? He waits for them to catch up. So then they show up and they're on an elevated position above him in the little puddle or stream or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right? And so then he's come on, follow me, and so okay. And then they I think it's one after the other stumbles down to get him. And it's okay, that would have made it easier.
Right.
That would have they can't see Sophia. They're distracted.
Yeah.
You just dispatch them one and then the next because as they stumble, because it's I seem to remember they're they kind of fall down and have to get themselves back up. And it's well, there you go. But he just waits for them. Politely, he's this is a matter of honor. I must show them respect by allowing them to stand before stabbing, and it's okay, that's okay. That would have been the opportune time. That was actually a very convenient place to just kill them.
Yeah.
But instead he leads them some distance away and then just does it. And it's well, okay, there was nothing easier about that. That was just an excuse to separate him from Sophia. There was no like in-universe reason to do that.
Right.
And so then he dispatches them. He did like say to Sophia when he was like, "You've got to hide." He was like, "They don't tire, I do."
Yes.
Which, okay, that's a callback to like the deleted scene where Shane, like in the very beginning, when he gets in the RV, he's like, "They don't tire." I guess Glenn? He said like Glenn or Daryl, like he was like one of them pointed it out. And it's like,
yeah.
And it's like, so I mean, but that just didn't really make sense what Rick was saying, because he's like, they don't tire. So I'm gonna run over there. I'm gonna run over there and tire myself out.
Right.
They do not tire, Sophia. So I will only be weakening myself. Do you see the genius of my plan? Like, it's, like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
No, it doesn't.
For some reason, he points that out as if it explains what he's doing, like as if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, I wanted to point that out. And so, let's see, what happened after that?
So, that's when, like, Sophia goes missing.
Right, because then he comes back.
Mm-hmm. And she's gone.
Yeah, and it's like, she didn't come back, and she's not under the tree. She's not in the roots.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so when they're looking for her, they hear church bells, and they're like, "Oh my god, that might be Sophia." Or, like, she might have gone to the church, or I think Daryl's like, it could be her ringing it. Well, that was not a good, that was more of a Rick accent.
Oh, could have been her ringing it.
His voice is higher right now, which is...
Oh, you're right, you're right.
Okay, but anyway, so they're like, where did it come from? Which way is the church? And they finally find it. And they're like, that can't be the church. There's not a... like
steeple?
Yeah.
I think they like
where
so,
like the bell
and it's like wait, you're imagining her like Quasimodo, like those, I think those things are pretty heavy. Like,
yes,
I don't think
are.
she could like ring like real church bell. I mean, like, like manual church bells.
You're right. So they like open the church to see if she's in there. And there are walkers who are just like
sitting in the pews,
facing the front, just
like not doing anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they like slowly turn around and look at the front door and slowly get up. But it's just this like inconsistency, like back and forth. Like, do they have part of their human personality in them? Are they still going through like things that they frequently did as humans, or is that part just completely gone? Because really, we don't, like, through the rest of the series, walkers do not sit.
No, they don't. I mean, this is like a Living Dead kind of thing, where they like have, like, they were like the undead remember elements of their past life, and they like go to places that they went to a lot and were important to them when they were alive, and like like they have so they like have some kind of memory. That's like, and that's not the way they work in this world.
Right.
Like overwhelmingly, that's not how they work. Like, they just reanimate and then just sort of start,
wandering.
They just wander around like looking for prey. They just kind of
forever, basically.
Yeah, they don't really like
the next
stop.
time, and I could be wrong, but the next time that I can think about a walker sitting is like all the way in season 10 or later, when like Princess, that character, like captures them and like chains them to make it look like they're like city folk doing.
That's true.
Right.
That,
but like that's
count.
not that's not them like naturally doing that. That's like someone basically positioning them like that.
Like tying them down.
Yeah. So them like sitting in the church facing
it's
like, it doesn't make any sense.
Because like, okay, even if we say these people were bitten, or I mean, I don't know, I guess poison themselves, like seated, or like, and then like reanimated, like they, like all evidence in the show suggests that they would just reanimate and then get up and then start wandering around, roaming around, like in the church. They would just sort of like, they would just be like standing there.
There wasn't any evidence like for or against, but if this had have worked how it works in the rest of the show, they would have been like trying to get out of the church. So
they would have been making noises, and they would have probably been scratching at the door.
Yes, exactly. And we didn't see any of that. So it's like they didn't really have this clear idea of what their walkers were going to do yet, I guess.
And I mean, as you pointed out, I mean, like the church bells really should have attracted more walkers
really
from outside. It also should have riled up the walkers in the church. Like, if nothing else, that should have stirred them into motion.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been like, they should have been like roaming around and snarling and like looking around for what's causing that noise. They should have been like, they should have heard that. Oh, I did think of one, but like the only time I can think of a walker actually like sitting, is the one that somehow ate Lori's whole body in season 3.
Oh my gosh! And then
it's just like it's just like.
But like, could that potentially be because he like can't physically get up?
And that, I mean, no, I mean, like if he somehow has like 100 pounds of human meat in him,
you're right. That's a good
Oh no, but I mean, but that is an unusual.
Hopefully no one's listening that hasn't watched that far in the show.
Oh, hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, yes, and that is very possible that like maybe they're not strong enough to like lift
physically
themselves up if they were
with like a whole body.
Yeah,
inside.
if they.
Okay.
I mean, putting aside how little sense that makes, but like
Okay, so then it like flashes back to on the highway where Dale and T-Dog are there, and the reason T-Dog didn't go with them to look for Sophia is because he cut his arm while the walkers were going by. The walkers should have smelled his blood.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I like when they're evading the herd.
Yeah.
It's like, because I mean, like Daryl covers him and T-Dog with corpses, and like that fools them. But like, I mean, are we saying that they just have the walkers have no sense of smell?
The fresh blood?
Yeah, that seems,
like,
I don't know
gushing
about
blood?
that. Because he cut himself really badly. And, like, he didn't have time to put anything on the wound.
Oh, at all.
Like, at this point.
I think
Like,
it's
it
just
was still bleeding.
It
was, there was blood all over.
I mean, it's bad enough that they're afraid that he's going to get blood poisoning, like how big the wound is.
Yeah.
But so the two of them are looking around in the cars trying to find antibiotics, and he looks in the car and sees it's like a car seat. Yes, and there's blood all over the car seat and on the seat of the actual car, not the car seat. And so the implication is that the baby was eaten.
Yeah. But you pointed out quite correctly that, oh, you're welcome, that the buckle, like
of
the latch of the car seat is unbuckled.
So like,
and so it's like, what actually happened here?
So like, it's the one that like goes in between the legs and the one that goes on the chest. Both of them are unbuckled. It's just open. And so if the implication is that the baby was eaten,
and I think that's the implication.
Right, because there's no body
there. Right. Well, and I mean, because, like, there's no, like, I mean, like, it's possible, I mean, yeah, it's 99% probable that the baby was eaten by walkers, or a walker, like, either the driver turned and then ate its own baby, or some walkers just got in and ate the baby. Oh, well,
I mean, both are
darker than an eaten baby.
But like the mom or dad on the baby.
Oh no, and I mean, that's just a possibility. But like, it's also possible that they were just eaten too by the same.
Right.
But like,
the walkers could not.
They wouldn't
the buckles.
have. Like the it should have still been buckled. Yeah, I mean, like they would have just like pulled the baby through or something. They would have just like.
And if they if the baby was buckled in when they were trying to eat it and they couldn't get it out, which I think there's a good possibility if the seatbelt is on correctly, then they shouldn't just be able to pull the baby out. Then like there would still be a baby in the seat even though it's
there would
dead.
be like parts. Yeah. 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 And I mean, and so it's like it's a question of like, okay, so I mean, I'm sure that they couldn't show any parts of the baby.
Right, a dead
You know what I mean? Like, the censors wouldn't let them show that.
I'm sure, yeah.
but it should have been buckled. So
Right.
like that, I mean, I guess
That's
that's
just an
just a
oversight,
mistake.
yeah.
I guess like nobody like noticed that because
So-
yeah, they really shouldn't have been able to unbuckle it.
Similarly, I can't remember if this is in episode 1 or episode 2. We see the man who
Hanged himself?
yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And he obviously didn't know that when you die you become a walker because he's like up it's in a tree, right? He's
Yeah.
like snarling like rah, rah, like being a walker, but he has no legs.
Mm-hmm.
So in this world, walkers don't eat each other.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that he must have hanged himself. Walkers ate his legs and then he turned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yes.
then like so if I just have this like imagination of like the walkers eating his legs and then he turns and they're like, oh, never mind, and they
Yeah.
just walk away.
Oh no, I do think that's what happened. I think they were like, oh, okay. And then disengaged, like just
Yeah,
stop chewing
like
on him. And,
immediately,
yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
like, oh, this meat's rancid now. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're like, sorry, dude.
So this episode ends when they're all not all, sorry. Shane, Carl, and Rick are out and they see a deer and Carl wants to pet it.
I mean, okay. I take a great
I know
deal
you
of
do.
exception.
I know
This whole scene. Okay, so yes, because he's like, "Whoa, a deer," like okay, and so then he like Carl starts like going up to it, and like neither Rick nor Shane try to do anything to stop him.
Well,
Okay.
like Shane starts to, and then Rick's
Oh,
like,
he does?
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
like,
Well,
like
then it's
Shane
all
takes
Rick's
a step,
fault.
and Rick
Yet
is like,
another,
no, let him.
Yet another example of where like Shane is basically saying the more sensible
All
thing.
the
Like,
time.
I mean, he's basically
time.
being the more like cautious, more
And
like
Rick's,
sensible one.
Rick's more like emotionally driven.
Yeah, he's driven by sentiment
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, oh, this is a hallmark moment.
Yeah.
He's like, and
Let my little
I saw
boy-
Bambi. Deers don't hurt nobody.
Let
You know?
my little boy go touch that deer.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, deer charge. Deer
Yes.
can be aggressive, okay? Bucks they're not. I mean, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that it would have gored Carl, like it would have charged at him, but it could have.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Like Rick should know that.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, oh, it'll just run away. I mean, there's a decent chance that it will. There's a decent chance that it would charge Carl, gore him, and kill him.
Right.
I mean, it would, like, okay. And then, I mean, like, what if it got the bloodthirst? I mean, what if it killed Carl and then moved on to Shane and Rick, and they were helpless?
So your point is that Otis.
Yeah, Otis probably saved all three of their lives unintentionally by shooting the deer and hitting Carl.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
going through the deer and hitting Carl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I would just also like to last point is that we make fun of Rick's accent a lot, and I think part of that is because like Carl and Lori don't have them.
No, the accents are all over the place in the
because
show.
Shane has a
yeah,
decent one.
Shane and Rick's like are similar. I mean,
Right.
Morgan is pretty similar.
But like Rick
Let's
is
see.
just
Yeah.
like a little over
Like some
the
of-
top
yeah.
with it,
Mhm.
and I know a lot of that is because like maybe I mean you know this, but maybe people listening don't know that Andrew Lincoln is English,
Yeah.
right? So he's like covering
Uh-huh.
up his English accent. Same with
Maggie?
what is the actress's name?
Is it
remember.
Lori or Lauren? Cohen?
Lauren Cohen,
Yeah.
yes. So Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie, who we're gonna meet soon.
Yeah.
She also is English, which is why she has such a thick.
Yeah, like hers is just kind of
Hers-
weird sometimes. Like,
yes, but it's like
Yeah.
to try to cover up their native accent.
Yeah.
But like that's why we make fun of
Mm-hmm.
Rick a lot. It's like Carl, like it just
Carl.
Carl. So
Carl.
it's to cover up his accent, but like no one else in his family has it, and I mean I guess it makes sense that like Lori might not, but
I mean, to an extent, but they also were supposed to have like grown up in the same
That
town.
you're right. You're right.
I mean, it's like,
But
it's
Carl
possible.
should have.
Yeah, Carl, you
should
would
have
think.
some at least. So.
And like as the show goes on, I mean, he basically has no like deep South accent, like ever.
Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Lori has like a slight, it's
Yes.
not as thick, but
Nowhere
like she
near.
has one.
Yeah.
But then like Carl just has no, I mean, he just has like a general American accent.
Yeah.
Like, even early on in the show.
Yeah.
Like I think we would hear it. I mean, even if he's a kid, like I think we would hear him having a bit of like an accent. Yeah.